Single mother helped a homeless man unaware. He is a billionaire. What he did. Shocker rain poured relentlessly that night in Lagos. A single mother named Amara, exhausted from a double shift at the restaurant, clutched her umbrella as thunder cracked above. On her way home, she spotted a shivering homeless man curled under a broken kiosk, his clothes soaked, his eyes hollow, yet strangely calm. Despite barely having enough for herself and her little boy, she handed him her only food and offered shelter in her small apartment. The man, unkempt, quiet, with an oddly dignified posture, hesitated before accepting, whispering a soft "thank you" that carried weight beyond poverty. As days passed, Amara noticed the man's intelligence, the way he spoke about business and people with insight no ordinary drifter had. But she brushed it off. Who could a homeless man really be? Until one morning, sleek black SUVs stopped outside her apartment. Men in suits stepped out, bowing slightly to him. Who was this man she'd taken in? Why did billionaires suddenly treat her like royalty? And what was he about to do that would change her life forever? The small room smelled faintly of kerosene and wet clothes. Amara's son, David, only 6, peeked nervously from behind the curtain, clutching his worn teddy bear. The stranger sat on the edge of the couch, his trembling hands cupped around the mug of hot Gary water she'd offered. His voice, when he finally spoke, was gentle but carried a strange authority. "You shouldn't have brought me in. The world is not kind to people like you." Amara smiled faintly, pushing a blanket toward him. "Neither is it kind to people like you," she said. Her words carried no pity, just quiet strength. He looked at her, as if seeing something he hadn't seen in years, dignity in the middle of struggle. Outside, thunder rolled again. That night's sleep eluded her. The man's calm voice echoed in her mind. When he'd thanked her earlier, there was a weight behind it, a kind of gratitude that didn't fit a man with nothing. The way he observed everything, the broken fan, the crack on the wall, the pot on the stove, felt like a man who once owned things, not one who begged. By morning, she found him awake, cleaning the floor with her mop as if he belonged there. "You didn't have to," she said. He shrugged. "It's the least I can do." "What's your name?" "Amara," she replied. "And yours?" He hesitated for a long second. "Daniel," he finally said. She noticed he didn't flinch or fidget when he lied. His calmness was almost trained. Later that day, while she dressed David for school, she caught Daniel watching her with quiet curiosity. "You work too much," he murmured. She laughed lightly. "You talk like a man who's never been broke." He smiled, not offended, just amused. "You'd be surprised," he said softly. The tone made her pause. There was history in his voice, one that didn't match the threadbare shirt he wore. That afternoon, she left him at home to rest while she worked her double shift at the restaurant. Yet all through the day, she couldn't shake the feeling she'd invited someone extraordinary into her home. Her co-workers teased her, saying she was too kind for her own good. "One day that kindness will break your heart," her manager warned. But kindness was all she had left. When she returned that night, the house was spotless. Her son was asleep, his homework done, and Daniel was quietly fixing the faulty bulb in the corridor, using tools she didn't even own. "Where did you get that screwdriver?" she asked. "Borrowed it from the neighbor," he said without looking back. Amara watched him work under the flickering light, his focus, the precision of his hands, the unspoken discipline in every move. He wasn't just a man used to work, he was a man used to order. She opened her mouth to ask the question that had been haunting her, but before she could, he turned slightly and said, "You shouldn't trust strangers so easily." She froze. "Should I not trust you then?" He didn't answer, just looked at her with eyes that carried both gratitude and guilt. Something in her chest stirred, a mix of fear and fascination. Who exactly had she let into her home? Days turned into weeks, and Daniel became part of the small apartment's rhythm. He walked David to school, helped fix things Amara couldn't afford to replace, and quietly cooked when she came home too tired to lift her hands. But something about him didn't add up. His posture was too straight, his silence too studied. He spoke with the kind of restraint only people with power once had. One afternoon, Amara came home early. She found Daniel reading an old newspaper on her couch, his brow furrowed over the business section. You read a lot, she teased, dropping her bag. You plan on starting a company from the couch? He smiled faintly, eyes never leaving the page. Sometimes broken things need a plan before they can stand again. His words were simple, yet they sank deep. There was pain behind them, like a man who'd lost everything he once built. That night, she couldn't sleep again. She replayed his tone, his calm, the way he looked out the window as if watching ghosts of another life. Who was he before this? The next morning, something strange happened. While Amara was preparing David's lunch, she saw Daniel step outside to take a call. His voice was low, controlled, but one line sliced through the morning air. No, I said the merger must not proceed until I sign it myself. He froze when he realized she was standing there. He ended the call slowly, his expression unreadable. Old friends, he muttered. Friends who talk about mergers? She asked, crossing her arms. He chuckled, deflecting. You overheard wrong, but she hadn't. The curiosity gnawed at her like hunger. Every time she caught him staring at nothing, lost in thought, she wondered, was he running from something or toward something? One evening, David asked him to help with math homework. Daniel explained it like a professor, clear, calm, patient. When the boy finished, Daniel patted his head and said, You're going to be a great man someday. Amara smiled softly, but Daniel's gaze lingered too long on the boy, almost like he saw someone he once was. Later, as Amara washed dishes, Daniel stood by the door, hesitant. You've been kind to me, he said. You didn't ask who I was. Why? She wiped her hands and looked up at him. Because I know what it feels like to have no one believe in you. For a moment, something cracked in his calm mask. He turned away before she could read it. That night, she heard him whispering again in the living room, this time in anger. Tell them I'll handle it my way. His tone was cold, commanding, not that of a man sleeping under kiosks. The next morning, her neighbor pulled her aside. That man staying with you, I saw him get into a black SUV last night. Men in suits. They called him Sir Daniel. Who is he? Amara froze. Her spoon slipped from her hand. SUV? Men in suits? You must be mistaken, she said, heart racing. But as she turned toward the house, she saw him standing by the window, staring at her like he'd heard every word. And for the first time, she wasn't sure if she'd saved him or invited danger into her life. Amara's heart pounded as Daniel's eyes met hers through the window. That calm, mysterious gaze, once comforting, now felt heavy with secrets. She forced a smile, pretending nothing was wrong. But inside, questions screamed louder than the thunder that night. Who was this man who spoke like a CEO, yet slept on her couch like a wanderer? The following morning, she noticed something new. The torn bag he carried when she met him was gone. In its place, a sleek black duffel sat by the door, made of genuine leather. She frowned. Where did you get that? He looked up unbothered. A friend dropped it off. The same kind of friend who drove SUVs? Conflict pulsed between them in the air. Amara tried to act normal, but every time she caught him staring at her son with quiet affection or taking phone calls in hushed tones, the pit in her stomach deepened. One night, curiosity won. While he stepped out to buy bread, she opened the duffel. Inside were neatly folded shirts, tailored, expensive fabric, and a wristwatch that gleamed like a small sun. She gasped. On the inner clasp, engraved initials, D.K. Williams. She'd seen that name before, on newspapers, in business news about a billionaire who'd vanished after a corporate scandal. Her hands shook as she held the watch. Could Daniel be that Williams? The front door creaked. She stuffed the watch back, heart racing. Daniel entered, eyes scanning the room too quickly, too carefully. Everything okay? He asked softly. She nodded too fast. Just tired. He smiled faintly. You should rest. Tomorrow might change everything. His words sent chills through her. Tomorrow? What was happening tomorrow? That night, Amara barely slept. She replayed every interaction, every soft word, every mysterious call. By dawn, she made up her mind. She would confront him. But when she woke, the duffel was gone. The couch was empty. Panic clawed her chest. He was gone. Just like that. She ran outside barefoot, scanning the street, but he'd vanished like he'd never existed. As she stood trembling on the sidewalk, a car horn startled her. A glossy black SUV rolled to a stop beside her. The window slid down, revealing Daniel inside, clean-shaven, wearing a perfectly tailored suit. The transformation was unreal. "Get in," he said quietly. Amara froze. "What's happening, Daniel?" His gaze softened. "Please, you deserve to know the truth." Every instinct screamed not to, but curiosity drowned fear. She climbed in. The car glided through the streets silently, passing neighborhoods she'd never seen. He didn't speak. He just stared out the window, face unreadable. Finally, he turned to her and said, "You helped a stranger, but you didn't just save a man. You saved a legacy." Her breath caught. "What do you mean?" He looked ahead as the car turned into a massive gated estate, guards saluting. "I'm about to show you who you really helped, Amara." The gates opened like the doors of another world. Amara's eyes widened as the SUV rolled into a sprawling mansion, lined with marble fountains and palm trees glowing under soft golden lights. The same man she once fed Gary sat beside her, his wristwatch gleaming, his voice now calm but commanding, as guards greeted him with, "Welcome back, Sir Daniel." Her heart thudded like thunder in her chest. "Sir Daniel?" she whispered. He glanced at her, expression unreadable. "My real name is Daniel Kingsley Williams," he said quietly. "I own this estate, and a few others." Amara's breath caught. Billionaire. The man the newspapers called the ghost of Lagos business. The one who vanished after a power struggle in his company, rumored dead. "I don't understand," she whispered. "You lived under a kiosk." He smiled faintly, pain flashing in his eyes. "After my board betrayed me, I walked away from everything to see if people still cared about humans, not status. For years I searched for sincerity in a world that only bowed to wealth, and then I met you." Her throat tightened. "You mean you were testing people?" "No," he said softly. "I was searching for truth. You found me when I was at my lowest. You fed me when I couldn't even feed myself. That's something no amount of money can buy." The SUV stopped before the mansion steps. The front door opened, revealing a woman in a tailored suit, his assistant perhaps, who bowed respectfully. "Welcome back, sir. The board is waiting." Amara froze. Board? Her mind raced. The man she'd housed on her couch was about to walk into a board meeting in a palace. He turned to her gently. "You'll wait here. Please, I won't be long." When he left, she stood there, surrounded by luxury that didn't belong to her. Marble floors, chandeliers like constellations. She felt small, almost invisible. Then curiosity got the better of her. She walked down a corridor lined with portraits, each one showing Daniel in sharp suits beside presidents, CEOs, and international figures. The scale of who he really was hit her like a storm. In one of the photos, he stood beside a woman and a boy. The woman, graceful, cold-eyed, had a beauty that carried authority. The boy looked about 8. A family? Suddenly, a voice behind her. "You shouldn't be in here." She turned to see the woman from the photo standing in the hallway, her heels clicking sharply. "And who are you?" Amara stammered. I'm just a friend." The woman's lips curved, amused. "A friend? My husband brings home strays now?" Her words sliced deep. Amara froze. "Husband?" The woman smiled wider. "Yes, Daniel Williams is my husband." The room seemed to tilt. Her hands went cold. From down the corridor, Daniel appeared, voice low and tense. "Sophia, enough!" Sophia turned, her tone dripping venom. "Enough? You disappeared for months, Daniel, and now you bring her here?" Amara's heart stopped. Betrayal hung in the air like poison. Who exactly was Daniel? A lost soul she saved, or a man whose lies had just shattered her world? The air in the hallway was sharp enough to slice through silence. Amara stood frozen, staring between Daniel and Sophia. Every second stretched like a lifetime. Daniel looked cornered, Sophia looked triumphant, and Amara, she just looked betrayed. "You're married?" Amara's voice was barely a whisper. Daniel exhaled slowly, his tone careful. "It's not what you think." Sophia laughed bitterly. "Oh, it's exactly what she thinks. My husband disappears for months and turns up with a single mother who saved him? How poetic. She stepped closer, eyes glinting. Tell me, Amara, how much did he promise you for this little act of compassion? Amara flinched, cheeks burning. I didn't know who he was. I only helped him because you thought he was poor? Sophia cut in, her voice slicing like glass. How generous, Daniel's voice cracked through the tension. Enough, Sophia. His command froze the air, but Sophia only smirked. You always did like your experiments, Daniel. Disappearing for months to test humanity? And now you bring home a charity case to prove your point? Amara's stomach twisted. Test humanity? Was that all she was? A test? He turned to her, his eyes pained. Amara, please listen. I left that world because it was corrupt, soulless. I wanted to see if kindness still existed without the scent of money. You proved it does. Her chest tightened. Then why does it feel like I was part of your experiment? He took a step closer. Because you weren't. His voice broke, raw and desperate. You're the first person who saw me. Not my title, not my money. Me. Sophia scoffed. Spare her the drama, Daniel. The board's waiting, and your little fairy tale's over. But Daniel didn't move. He reached for Amara's hand, his voice trembling. When I lost everything, when the company turned against me, I thought my life was over. You gave me hope again. You reminded me what it means to be human. Amara's eyes glistened, torn between disbelief and something deeper. And now what? You return to your world, and I go back to mine. He hesitated. That silence was her answer. Sophia smiled thinly. Exactly. You don't belong here, sweetheart. The humiliation hit like cold water. Amara pulled her hand free, her voice trembling but fierce. You're right, I don't. She turned toward the door, fighting tears. Daniel called after her, voice breaking. Amara, wait! She stopped just long enough to look back. I helped you because it was right, Daniel. Not because of who you are. Don't ever confuse pity with love. And she walked out into the night, her reflection vanishing against the mansion's glass doors, leaving Daniel standing between two worlds, realizing too late which one had his soul. The guards exchanged uneasy glances as the gates shut behind her. Daniel didn't move. For the first time in years, he felt powerless. Inside, Sophia whispered, Now you see, Daniel. The poor don't stay in our world. But his silence wasn't defeat. It was the sound of a man about to change everything. Weeks passed. Lagos moved on, but Amara couldn't. Every time she passed the kiosk where she'd first met Daniel, the memory returned like a ghost. She'd gone back to working double shifts, her heart heavier than her tray. David asked about him sometimes. Mom, will Mr. Daniel visit again? But she just smiled weakly. He's gone, sweetheart. One afternoon while she was serving customers at the restaurant, 2 black SUVs stopped outside. Her co-workers gasped. Men in suits stepped out again, polished, confident, out of place in the cramped street. The restaurant fell silent as one of them approached her. Miss Amara Ease. She froze. Yes? He handed her a sealed envelope embossed with a gold insignia. KW Holdings. Her heart nearly stopped. She tore it open with trembling fingers. Inside was a short handwritten note. You taught me that wealth means nothing without humanity. You once gave me food when I had nothing. Allow me to return that kindness. Daniel. Folded beneath the note was a document, a property deed. Confused, she looked closer. It was for a fully furnished apartment in Lekki. Her rent-free home, her name printed in bold. Is this some kind of joke? She whispered. The man smiled politely. No, ma'am. The apartment keys are in the car. Mr. Williams insisted it be delivered personally. Her hands shook. Customers gathered around, murmuring. Tears blurred her vision. He remembered, but that wasn't all. Inside the envelope was another letter addressed to David Ease. For the boy who reminded me of who I once was, a full scholarship through university, so he'll never have to sleep under kiosks as I did. D. Amara covered her mouth, tears falling freely. He did this? The man nodded. He asked me to tell you he's left Lagos for good, but he wanted you to know you changed his life. Her knees nearly gave out. The restaurant was silent, everyone watching as she clutched the letter to her chest. In that moment, the man she thought she'd lost had given her more than money. He'd restored her faith in something far greater. That evening, she and David rode in the SUV to their new home. The apartment overlooked the ocean. It was beautiful. Too beautiful for someone who'd lived her whole life counting coins. On the dining table sat a small box with her name on it. Inside was a silver pendant shaped like a raindrop, engraved with the words, "For the night you brought light to the rain." Her tears fell onto the pendant. She looked out at the ocean, whispering, "Daniel, wherever you are, thank you." Far away in a private jet cutting across the clouds, Daniel watched the city fade beneath him. He closed his eyes, a faint smile on his lips, whispering, "Goodbye, Amara." For once, the billionaire who'd lost everything felt truly rich again, and in the heart of Lagos, a single mother who once gave all she had realized she had just been repaid in ways she never imagined.